Hello and welcome. My name is Fredrik Zillén and I'm your running technique specialist. And in today's episode, I will be answering questions from you. And today, I will address these questions. Should you care about imbalance in ground contact time between left and right foot? What about the optimal step width while running? And how do I increase my running speed? First, a question that many people have asked, including these people. And the question is, should I care about imbalances in ground contact time between the left and the right foot? The answer is yes, or maybe, or no, not at all. Let's take it from the beginning. Most people are a bit unbalanced, and that includes the contact time, of course. And that is not surprising. For example, you are not nearly as strong and well coordinated in both arms. If you are right-handed as I am, you will be stronger and have much better control over your right arm than your left. The same goes for the legs. Since most people are right-handed, the left leg is also a little bit stronger, which is reflected in the measurements I'll make with my 3D cameras as well. And most people also jump high jump and long jump with their left leg. There are also runners who have been very unsymmetrical and yet have been very successful. For example, when the Ethiopian runner Alma Sayana won the 10,000 meters at the 2017 World Championships in London, a study by the organization World Athletics showed that she had different stride length with her right and her left leg. And the difference grew as the race went on. At the end, she took 20 centimeters longer steps with one leg than the other. That's almost 8 inches. And she won the gold medal at the World Championships. And then there are calculations that Usain Bolt put about 13% more force into one leg than the other when running, because one leg is shorter than the other for that guy because he has scoliosis. The spine is quite bent. But he did quite well anyway. But what does this mean for you then? Well, you can be very asymmetrical, as Alma Sayana and Usain Bolt, and still be the best in the world. But at the same time, some people are very sensitive to imbalances and get injured more easily. So I can't say this is the amount of imbalance that you can have with no problem. But smaller imbalances are generally nothing to worry about. With larger imbalances, it is easy to think that you should train the weaker side, the one with the longest contact time, more. And that may be the case. But it may be that a weak right hip creates an overstride on the left side, which means that the left foot gets longer contact time. But the problem was on the right side. Therefore, my advice is to train strength and mobility a little bit more than before and equally on both sides, as general training of strength and mobility tends to even out imbalances. Next question. What about the optimal step width while running? As I talked about in the answer to the previous question, runners are affected in different ways by different things. Some runners are affected a lot by putting their feet a little bit too wide or a little bit too narrow, while others are not affected that much at all. But if we talk about how it is in general for the vast majority of recreational runners, a good step width is about 3.5 to 5 centimeters, 1.4 to almost 2 inches. The measurement I'm talking about is how wide it is between the inside of each ankle, which is the same as how wide it is between your footprints if you're running in snow or on a beach. What happens for most recreational runners who put their feet a little bit wider than the 5 centimeters, almost 2 inches, is that their lateral forces immediately increases a lot, which means that they both leak energy laterally and that they get unnecessary lateral loads in their knees and hips, which can increase the risk of injury. Normally, you don't get higher lateral forces by putting your feet down narrowly, like on a line. However, there seems to be a slight higher risk of ITB syndrome in runners who put their feet down very narrowly and almost maybe crossing the line a bit like this. So 3.5 to 5 centimeters, 1.4 to almost 2 inches is generally pretty good. Next question. How do I increase my running speed? This isn't a question about running technique at all, but I will answer it anyway. I interpret your question as not being about how to get faster at a 10k or a half marathon, but rather how to increase your top speed. Speed is something you earn. If you want to get good at running fast, you have to practice running fast. Of course, if you run 4-minute intervals, you will of course run a lot faster than when you run a 10k. But since we really want to speed up, it's good if the distance is short and the recovery is long when you're doing your intervals. My favorite workout to get up to speed is that, well, after a proper warm-up, of course, you run 30-second intervals. After an interval, you rest for 3 minutes. You can't jog during the rest, not even slowly. When I've done this with my groups, we slowly walk back to the starting point. With such long rest, you will be fully recovered when it's time for the next 30-second interval. And that means that you will be able to run it very fast. You need to push hard. Maybe not 100%, but it should be really fast. This trains your fastest muscle fibers, coordination, and with the high speed comes high load that is almost like a very running specific strength training. 6 or 7 of these intervals are enough for the first time. When you get more used to it, you can run maybe 10 intervals, and that's enough. You should do this session on flat ground. If it goes slightly uphill, you will not have as high pace, and it is the pace, the speed that we are looking for here. If you also add some strength training and plyometrics, your running speed will hopefully increase in the coming month. But remember that the risk of injury increases when you run this fast. So warm up properly. Don't push yourself to the max. And take it easy the first few times, the first reps and the first few times. You probably won't find it hard during the session, but wait until the next day and you will probably feel it quite a lot. And the last question. What is the world's best online course for efficient running technique? Well, just kidding. You already know the answer to this one. That's all for today. If you didn't get your question answered this time, maybe it will be in the next episode with questions from you, the viewers. Remember to run beautifully, and I'll see you in the next video.